Hey everybody, Campus Reform Media Director Cabba Phillips here. We're joined today by Dustin Hurst, the Communications Director for the Idaho Freedom Foundation. Going to talk about some pressing issues, current events, and more. Dustin, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks for the invitation. I'm glad to be here, and I love the work you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. So one of the things that we've covered a lot recently, or two topics really that we're going to get to today, are first, in-state tuition and scholarship benefits for undocumented students, dreamers, people here, illegally, as well as the case of diversity positions on campus, whether it's departments, specific administrative positions, universities taking these diversity initiatives, the money they're spending, what they're using it for, and if it's having an impact. So I want to start first with the in-state tuition benefits for undocumented students. Can you give us a little update on what the work you guys are doing and some of the things you guys are finding?
Absolutely. So, well, let's walk back just a little bit to June. The interim president of BSU was sending an outgoing message, like his farewell message, if you will, to colleagues. And he said, hey, we're doing all this really great stuff. We're doing diversity programs. We're spending to get minority voices in important positions. Oh, and we're also making sure that DACA students, the Dreamer class, if you will, making sure that they can get state-funded what are called opportunity scholarships. These scholarships are funded through state tax dollars, and typically they've been limited to Idaho students who graduated from Idaho high schools and want to stay in Idaho for college, and whether it's 4-year, 2-year, whatever. So that's what he said, and so we kind of seized on that, seeing an opportunity to correct a public policy error. And this is especially important because last year there were something like 1,800 Idaho natives or Idaho students turned away for these dollars, tax-paying citizens who didn't get the benefits, and now we're prioritizing DACA students ahead of our own, Idaho kids. And we kind of felt that that was inappropriate, and so we kind of jumped on it.
Yeah, and I think most Americans can agree. Obviously, there's room for debate on what should be done with Dreamers and DACA recipients and all of that. But I do think most Americans can agree that it should be American citizens, getting the first go at these benefits, especially when it's in-state benefits. So when you notice that, what kind of stuff are you guys doing to kind of try and hold your state accountable?
Well, so first of all, we partnered with 28 Republican lawmakers to raise the issue, to really show that we're serious about this. In our state house, we have 70 members, and 35, 36 can block a bill. So we're very close to being able to block the appropriation for not only the scholarships, but also the funding for Boise State University. Now, will that happen? We don't know at this moment. But we're trying, we're working that way. I will say that, the 28 have been really instrumental in holding these university officials accountable for this stuff. We've raised it in the press, and I think university officials are very uncomfortable asking or answering these questions about what they're doing with public tax dollars. Remember that Boise State University, as a public university, has a duty to report what it's doing and to be held accountable, and they're not comfortable with that. And I would add, if you don't mind, we did a press interview with the local paper here, The Statesman, and they asked us, well, IFF, why do you feel that it's appropriate to put Dreamers behind and kind of lessen their ability to get an education? It wasn't appropriate at the time, but I wanted to ask, well, why do you feel that it's appropriate to put Dreamers ahead of Idaho kids who have been there their whole lives doing the right things, following the law? And that's still what I want to know, and nobody has been able to answer that for me.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. And one of the disappointing things that I've seen being on different campuses with this issue is you're painted in a corner of, if you want to put American citizens first, people that, haven't broken the law or doing things the right way, you're instantly labeled anti-immigrant. And you're either anti-immigrant or you support this kind of thing and saying, no, there's absolutely, you can be pro-immigrant and be anti-illegal immigration, and saying we shouldn't be incentivizing it further. And I think there's that reasonable middle ground there absolutely gets lost. And we did a video at Campus Reform where I went to campus at UNLV in Nevada, and I was asking people, what do you think of in-state tuition benefits being given to people that aren't here legally? And students said, well, I can see them being able to come to school maybe, but they definitely shouldn't be getting in-state tuition benefits. And then I told them, well, and I believe it's 17 states that actually is the case right now, where universities can offer in-state tuition benefits. the people here legally, and people were shocked. They said, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. Well, I'm paying out-of-state tuition, or I didn't have those benefits. Why shouldn't I get those benefits? You know, I've lived here the right way, haven't broken the law. And I do think that when more people become aware of it, you know, it's an issue that as more information gets out, I think it's pretty clear what the law sides on and what, you know, the rule of law should say. Have you found that accountability has been impactful on this case and in the past, and that media accountability and getting information out there and changing people's opinions?
Absolutely. We've had a lot of people who just weren't, I'll be honest, we weren't even aware that this was going on until the interim president's outgoing email. Since then, you know, like I said, it's been a firestorm, and we've been called, like you said, we've been called racist, we've been called anti-immigrant, we've been called this and that, and it's a fun game that everybody gets to play, and we all get to be a part of our tribe and whatever. But the question remains, are we going to follow the law, or are we not going to follow the law? And right now, of course, Idaho only happens or has session from January to about March or April every year. So we're kind of doing our research, getting our ducks in a row so that we can prove the case that this needs to change and there needs to be some legislation. And we are working with lawmakers to develop some legislation to clarify and to make sure that the laws are followed.
Yeah, well, please keep us up to date on what you guys do with that. One other issue I want to get to, another thing you guys have been playing a big role in that we've been covering, is this idea of these diversity positions on campus and universities shelling out hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of dollars on these, you know, diversity programs, diversity administrative roles. Are they actually playing an impact? That's what a lot of people have been asking. What are some of the things that you guys have been discovering?
So again, back to the June email, we kind of caught wind of their diversity efforts. And let me be clear from the outset, we support diversity.
Yeah.
We aren't anti-brown people, we aren't anti-black people, we aren't anti-anybody. We're pro-people as a whole. But when you're holding separate graduation ceremonies for different classes of people based on their skin, that's inappropriate, completely inappropriate. It raises so many questions. So many questions, and apparently we aren't giving the right answers, and we're not woke enough to give the right answers on this, but the right answers, I guess I should say. But you've got people that say, oh, well, they've overcome extra struggles, so we need to recognize that. Well, that's fine, that's great. Go get a beer at Applebee's or wherever you sell beer. I don't know, but you know, go hold a thing there. But my question, I guess, is where does this end? You know, we have Black graduation, we have rainbow graduation. Do we have like Black rainbow graduation? Do we have intersectional? Like, I mean, how many graduations can we hold? And I hate to ask this question because it's so cliche, but it's like, do we get white graduation? Did white people not suffer? I mean, extra challenges. There are poor white people who come from, you know, rural parts of Idaho. They've overcome tremendous odds. They don't get their own graduation. And then the typical liberal answer is, well, regular graduation is their graduation. That's white graduation. That's not true at all. That's for everybody, and it should be for everybody. And we completely support efforts there.
Yeah.
I would add too that yes, so the university, I was reading last night, the University of Michigan has spent millions of dollars on their diversity efforts. I think they have something like 89 staffers in the University of Michigan diversity department. We're not there yet, but we're headed that direction, and I don't like where we're going. If you read, you know, I've read extensively on this, whether it's Coddling of the American Mind and other content stuff that you guys have put out. This is not a good road to go down at all.
Yeah.
Even at the University of Idaho up in Moscow, they have trainings on picking the right Halloween costume so you don't offend people. I'm not sure I want our government institutions regulating what Halloween costumes we can and cannot wear. Now, again, that's not an endorsement for people to go out and, you know, put on blackface like the governor of Virginia. What I am saying is that people should be able to work out their differences without the government policing things and coming in with its heavy hand.
Yeah, and I think that also is where, you know, where I personally fall on. I don't know about, you know, everyone else, but I personally fall on the side of, if students want to get together and hold their own graduation ceremonies to celebrate, you know, the diversity on campus, go for it. You have freedom of association, you know, absolutely, by all means, celebrate that if you see fit to have a African-American student graduation or an Asian-American student graduation, whatever it is. I think that the question starts to come in of what role government funding should play. And when you see universities starting to shell out thousands and thousands of dollars to fund these initiatives, I think it is fair to have questions about the legitimacy of those kinds of operations, and if the school should
Right.
really be upholding those things as as special and as just as events on campus that taxpayer funds are going towards. And I think that is where a lot of people fall. What efforts are you guys taking to kind of combat that kind of taxpayer funding on campuses in Idaho?
So again, we're working with the 28 Republican lawmakers to really examine what's going on, but we're also exposing the radical people who work in these departments. So for example, I will try to edit myself the best that I can with these things. But a couple years ago, a conservative professor named Scott Yenner wrote this very sensible piece, being conservative, saying that, the transgender movement can at times attack traditional family rights, and he defended traditional family rights and the living in the culture. Oh my gosh, hell broke loose on Boise State's campus for his ardent defense of traditional families. There were flyers put up that said, you have blood on your hands, Scott Yenner, you need to resign. There was a petition. The school, one person defended him, but the diversity officer said something to the effect of, not all neo-Nazis would agree with Scott Yenner, but something like, it was so convoluted, but basically he was inferring that if you're a neo-Nazi, you probably believe in Scott Yenner. And so he's trying to make that connection loosely. That's the diversity officer at Boise State who makes $77,000 a year. There was, in 2010, a lower level diversity staffer posted to her personal Facebook page a meme that says, I love memes, but some of them I don't know, but apparently it says, "Shut the F up, white boy." Yeah. And the people, the university or the school president, student body president at the time, he complained about it, and he actually got in trouble for being insensitive. Then we're looking into, all the programs that they fund. There's literally a safe space training that is offered by the University of Idaho that we're looking into. We're doing public records requests on their emails. I mean, it's a full-scale attack to really understand and expose the radical nature of these individuals and how damaging they are to campus life. I mean, it's supposed to be a discussion of ideas, and ideas can and will offend, but not anymore. That's not appropriate, because we believe that feelings are paramount, and we have to protect people from feeling anything that they may not like. And it's not a good direction, man. Not a good direction.
And so in closing, for the other side that's saying, why are you guys against a diversity staff position? Or why are you guys against a diversity department on campus? Or people that try to frame it in that way? What's your response to them on why it could be dangerous?
Again, it's kind of like the market. The invisible hand will work. Students are, especially millennials, are way more tolerant, way more diverse, and way more willing to go outside of their culture than perhaps previous generations.
I think that's a good thing in many ways.
It is. It's a wonderful thing. There's so many things that I've been exposed to as I've tried to reach out to other people and learn from other people. But I think our concern is simply, how far are we going to take this? We've seen incidents on other campuses across the country. You see, Berkeley, Evergreen in Washington, Middlebury in, I think it's Vermont, where these things just get taken to the extreme because people were taking reasonable positions. And, we've seen conservative silence. We've even seen some liberal silence because they weren't left-wing enough for the campus culture. And we've seen people lose their jobs. This cancel culture can't continue. And it's in its infancy here at Boise State and University of Idaho. And we're trying to head this off at the pass so that it doesn't continue. We don't want riots. We don't want safe spaces. We want intellectual achievement and excellence among diverse groups. But we don't want social engineering from the top. It's not appropriate, and it won't work.
Well said. Dustin Hurst, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us and give us an update of what you guys are doing up in Idaho and what you guys are going to be working on in the future. Please keep us updated. We want to make sure that we're keeping our readers and viewers posted on the work y'all are doing.
Absolutely. Thanks for the interview.
Appreciate it.
Oh, well, hello there. I'm Captain Phillips with Campus Reform. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to join our team, we're always looking for new investigators, correspondents, and tipsters. Click right here to learn more about that. If you want to donate to help us make more videos like the one you just saw, click that button there. And if you want to be among the first person to see all of our new content, click that subscribe button right over there. Thanks so much. Hey, I didn't hear you click anything. Did they click one yet?